The Athletic just dropped their first mock draft of the 2025 NBA season. It's going to be our job to react to it. On the front, we have Dylan Harper, we have Cooper Flag, and we have BJ Edgecombe. Are they his top three prospects? I don't know. Hopefully not, because there's a guy named Ace Bailey I would definitely throw into that group. Sam Vecini, the main draft guy for the Athletic, and it's going to be interesting to see what we have in this mock draft. Our first big mock draft we react to, or current mock draft. React to Bleacher Report. That was a while ago. Reacted to Sports Illustrated. They're not even a college basketball type of or NBA mock draft type of website or organization. So I don't really know how much I'm gonna buy into that. But we have the Athletic. We know what they capitalize. We know what they're going to bring. At pick number one, Cooper Flag gonna do. I think we're getting to a point, even though it's preseason, how much more do I have to talk about this guy? Until we actually see real game footage this year, or we've seen the blue versus white game. But until we see real regular season game footage for Cooper Flag, right now there's nothing I have to talk about. Cooper Flag is absolutely elite. Pick two, Ace Bailey from Washington. Kind of getting to that same tier of how much more do I have to talk about this guy? He has all the intangibles you want. He's 6'9". He's an insane slasher. He can guard basically 1 through 5. But the 3-point shot, will it fall to the next level? Will it not? That's my biggest question. At pick three, we're going to have Dylan Harper to the Blazers. For a team with Anthony Simon, Scoot Henderson, or not Shadur Sanders, wow, Shaden Sharp right now, I don't really know if I'd take a guy like Dylan Harper here at pick three, a guy who I expect to be a point guard at the next level. Maybe a guy like VJ Edgecombe who could develop off the bench to start things off, maybe playing to that starting shooting guard role next to a guy like Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp. But Dylan Harper's definitely been interesting. He needs the ball in his hands to be a good player. I've talked about it before. He's definitely around the 5 to 6 range for me as a prospect. But if he has a really good year this year at Rutgers, is a really good playmaker. He could play into the top three role. The Blazers specifically is definitely a bit interested. The Pistons here at pick four are going to take VJ Edgecombe. Wow, this is going to be a big testament to Jaden Ivey. Edgecombe here basically means that they give up on Jaden Ivey. They don't think he's going to be the long-term shooting guard next to Cade Cunningham. And if I had to give my honest opinion, I think VJ Edgecombe would be a lot better as a long-term shooting guard than what Jaden Ivey has shown so far. Edgecombe, we know he's going to bring elite slashing ability. He's going to dunk on your head. On 3-point shot, will he end up a guy like Jacoby Walter, where it doesn't really develop at Baylor, or a guy like Brandon Miller, where we see an extremely good efficiency season and he plays himself into the top two? Who knows? We'll see. I like Edgecombe here. As you can see right here, though, 6'3". Is he going to bring true point guard materials, abilities? I'm not so sure for him yet. Hopefully he does, or else he could maybe fall down some people's draft boards. At pick five, we have Nolan Trior to the Chicago Bulls, getting them their true franchise point guard. You have Adasumu, you have Josh Giddey, you have Kobe White. I think they really need someone in there to take mantle as that team's future point guard. It's listed at 6'3", which is interesting. He looks a lot taller on their court than 6'3". I'd probably say he's about 6'4", 6'5". But yeah, is he really 6'3"? It's definitely something to know. I thought he was definitely taller. But yeah, he's going to bring good defense. The jump shot, like a lot of other prospects in this class. Is it there? Is it not? That's going to be a big question. But yeah, prototypical type point guard, 6'5", apparently 6'5", with long arms. I like him a lot to the Bulls at pick five. He's my number one point guard in this year's draft class. At six, we have another point guard go. It's going to be Casper Jonas here out of Illinois. Another guy I absolutely love. I'd love to include him into my guys for this year's draft, but he's kind of getting that hype right now. So, it's kind of tough for me to put him in there, especially if I wasn't really talking about him too much, 4 months ago, basically. But Casper Jonas, he has one of the highest floors in this year's draft class. If the 3-point shot is good, like I've said about basically every other single prospect so far, he should be an easy top 10 guy. We know his playmaking is going to be there, and being a 6'5" guard is going to have a lot of NBA teams salivating for him. The Jazz also need a lead guard right now. You have Keontae George. I consider him definitely more of a shooting guard, so I like this pick a lot. Austin Newell here at pick number 7. This is probably the highest I've seen him so far. He's a very versatile big man who can run the floor, who can set screens, who can go up for lobs, and also is a solid rim protector. It's going to have to put some more pounds on for me to be a true center because he really can't shoot that three right now. So it'll be interesting to see what he's going to be at the next level for Georgia. Is he going to shoot the three? Is he going to lean away from the three? Because that really determines his lottery validity. Ben Surratt here at pick number 8. I've seen a lot of people like Ben Surratt, and I think he's getting to a point where I'd also consider him a first round or lottery talent. 6'6". He's listed as wing. He could really play that point guard position as well. I've seen Denny Avdia comps. I've looked at his game. It looks like he could be Denny Avdia as well. Just a nice playmaking point forward. And if he's also able to run the floor at an elite level, I could see him be a top 10 guy in this year's draft class. The Raptors, another team that could potentially be looking at their future point guard. Is that going to be Ben Saroff? Or they could put Ben Saroff next to Emmanuel quickly? Either way, I like it a lot for them. Knuckle here at number 9 to the Spurs. They really need shooting. I could see Knuckle. I could see Will Riley. I could see Liam McNeely. There's a lot of shooters in this draft class that I like for the San Antonio Spurs. It's the Atlanta's pick. So, or yeah, it's the Hawks pick, excuse me. So they're kind of playing with house money right here. So it's interesting to see where they go with this draft pick. Maybe target another big man. Maybe target another versatile long wing. That's what I said they needed in last year's draft class. Look at their big time wings right now. Obviously, getting Stephon Castle is a big thing, but will he play more point guard? We'll see. Devin Vassell, he's about 6'5". Kelvin Johnson, he's about 6'4", 6'5". I like to see them get maybe more of a 6'8", 6'9" guy. That's kind of where Liam McNeely and Will Riley comes into the fold. Probably would prefer them a little bit over Concanupple here, but I think at this point in the draft cycle, we can all see that Concanupple is the best shooter. Speaking of Liam McNeely, they're actually going to get him back to back, so I kind of like this a little bit more. McNeely here at 10 to the Spurs. He's going to have a big year at UConn this year. He's going to play directly into that Dan Hurley system. He's a great shooter. He can move well without the ball. He's also able to put the ball on the floor as well. Hurley's going to love this guy. He already loves this guy. And I expect him to play big time minutes for UConn this year, whether it's starting or off the bench behind Jalen Stewart. The Clippers take Colin Murray Boyles here at pick number 11. He's a guy that is a great playmaker from the post. Is he going to hit the three at the next level? That's going to be the big question. He hasn't really shot them at all last year at South Carolina. Again, he's going to be a sophomore. For the Clippers here specifically, though, at pick number 11, I probably would prefer a guy with more upside. There's guys still on the board like Hugo Gonzalez, like Dink Pate, who I think can become one or the first or second option on championship winning teams. Palmer Boyle is definitely more of a role player, even though he's going to play that to the best of perfection. Donnie Freeman to the Warriors here at 12. Interesting. I had him in my lottery in my first mock draft, the only one I've made so far for 2025. And he's one of those guys where we can see him have a really good year this year at Syracuse, or a guy that ends up being on the lower end of the bench. And for the Warriors here at 12, it's another team I would like to see a guy to help them contribute right away. Hugo Gonzalez still on the board. If they want to take more of a shooter, Will Riley still on the board. And maybe I prefer that a little bit more for the Warriors specifically here at 12. But if they're looking for a Draymond Green replacement, I can sort of understand a guy like Donnie Freeman, even though there are a lot of good value forwards here that may play more of the point forward type of role that we see Draymond play. OKC is going to draft Drake Powell here at 13. If they really decide to not trade this pick, assuming they're going to end up with a louder pick from one of the teams, if they decide to not trade this pick and they end up at 13 and are able to take Drake Powell, I consider that as a steal. I think Drake Powell can be a rotational guy for the Thunder going forward, which says a lot because they have a lot of young talent on that team. Jalil Bethea goes here at 14 to the Atlanta Hawks. They're making this pick thinking that they have their 3 through 5 solidified for the future in Reese Shea, in Jalen Johnson, and in Onyeka Okongwu. So maybe bolstering up that guard depth would help them a lot. I'm excited to see what Dyson Daniels does for them this year. I would agree, taking a guy that has a lot of scoring upside, like a Jalil Bethea, like a Trey Johnson, would help this team a lot. OKC picks again here at 15. We're going to have them take Dink Pate out of the Mexico City G League team. Like I said about the Thunder before, I expect them to trade one, if not both of these picks because they're in championship contention right now. If they could trade one of these guys for more of a veteran type of player, they'd want to do that. Dink Pate last year showed a lot of flashes for the G League Ignite, but he was young. He was the youngest pro American basketball player, I think, of all time. So going into this year being more of a focal point for the Mexico City G League team, maybe we could see more of a jump from him. At number 16, the New Orleans Pelicans are going to pick my personal favorite prospect this year in Hugo Gonzalez. By the way, my favorite prospect does not mean my number one prospect, but it's a guy I've had the most fun watching so far in terms of tape. He's a 6'6" wing that can play downhill. He's really good at running the fast break, and if he's going to be a high level playmaker this year for Real Madrid, I think he could come right back into the top 10, top 5 talks. He kind of fell out of it right now because of his playing time right now, but I expect him to get right back into things. At 17, we have the Rockets taking the backup to Alperen Sengun and Monty Krivas here out of Arizona. Umar Ballo, he transferred last year. Krivas is going to have a big opportunity at 7'2" to become this team's full-on starting center. And I think him and Carter Bryant are going to be two guys that have the opportunity to really raise their ceiling of draft prospects this year. You have Caleb Love, he's kind of going to take the ball every single play. So if you're able to play into a role like Krivas, like Carter Bryant, we can see these guys become potential lottery picks. The Pacers take a score first guard here at pick 18 in Hunter Sallis. I don't know if I'd really like this for them specifically. Hunter Sallis, I'm cool with at 18 for sure. I think he's a guy that could have been a first rounder last year. Stayed another year at Wake Forest. Averaged 18 points last year. But when I think about the Pacers getting another backup guard, I don't really know if I need them getting the 18 plus, 20 plus points from a guy like Hunter Sallis, who's not going to do that at the next NBA level. You have a guy in Benedict Mathurin, who's going to be your long-term backup shooting guard, who I think is going to give you that 15, 16, 17 plus points per game. I think you need to look for more of a playmaking lead guard off the bench, scrappy guard. You already have a guy like TJ McConnell. We know how old he is right now, though, so getting another guy in there to maybe learn under TJ McConnell is something I'd like. At 18, though, I don't know how many of those guys are still on the board. You drafted Tristan Newton last year. We'll see how he ends up being for this team. Is he going to be that team's long-term backup point guard? We'll see. But Hunter Sal's here at 18. I like his scoring, but I don't know if I love him too much to the Indiana Pacers. We have the Kings at 19 taking Alex Caravan here out of UConn. Interesting. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be able to stretch the floor. He was the best cutter in college basketball last year. I expect him to be just as good this year. The Dan Hurley system does favors for guys like Alex Caravan and Liam McNeely who are able to shoot the ball, but also cut, put the ball on the floor, and finish at the rim. So I think Alex Caravan will be a first round guy this year. Again, 22 years old, he's a bit older, but when you have a guy like Alex Caravan, especially going to a team like the Kings who are trying to win now, it makes a lot of sense. At 20, the Orlando Magic did their potential come on or Wendell Carter replacement. They just re-signed him on a new extension, which I think, let me just get this right here, which I think can end up being not detrimental to them because I think he's still going to be a very solid big man. I think he definitely plays up to the money he just got. But in 3 years from now, when Kamal Malak's 21 years old and he's that team's backup center, when we have Wendell Carter Jr. going into a contract year, I think we could maybe see Kamama Lock's resurgence. And I think at 20, potentially replacing Wendell Carter is something I definitely like out of the Orlando Magic, especially a guy like Kamama Lock, who's very raw, who doesn't really know what he has yet in his game. He's 7'1", he's a big guy, but does he really know what he's doing on the court right now? I'm not so sure. He'll figure something out at Duke next season, and I think he'll really play into his role when he gets to the league in next year. Trey Johnson to the Grizzlies here at pick 21. Another one I'm cool with. He's not one of those slashing type of guards, even though he can get to the rim. He's definitely one of those guys who are going to be able to create their own shot. I've had some of my problems with Trey Johnson because I do not know how efficient he'll be this year at Texas. Because if he's not efficient, I can see him completely slip out of the first round. But if he is, he's going to be a lottery guy for me. So we have a very big span of where I think his draft stock is. But I think for the Grizzlies here at 21, getting another scorer off the bench, I honestly would not mind it, especially because they do need more backup guard help. We have Rocco Zikarsky go to the Utah Jazz here at pick 22. We've heard Danny Ainge, or not, we haven't heard directly from Danny Ainge, but it's been clear that he's been shopping guys like Walker Kessler, like John Collins, because we know if he needs to get rid of a guy for more draft capital, he's going to do that. And I think if there's a guy like Rocco Zikarsky that's going to be on the board at 22, I think we could see him move Walker Kessler on draft night. Zikarsky, for me, is personally a lottery guy right now. He's 7'3". He sets very good screens. He's able to offensive rebound as well. And I think at 22 for the Jazz, potentially looking for their Walker Kessler replacement, this makes a lot of sense. We have Igor Demon go to the Dallas Mavericks here at pick 23. He's going to be a nice point forward. He plays from the high post very well, also the short corner. And for the Mavericks, are they really looking for a guy who can play that point forward position? Maybe not. Your offense is kind of just Luka Doncic at this point. So I'd like to see athletic defensive minded wings, and maybe Igor Demon can play into that role. But I think at 23, the value is absolutely insane. I consider Igor Demon a 100% lottery prospect for me. So maybe he doesn't really play into the direct role that the Mavericks like, but the value here at 23 is exponential. We have Alex Tuhi go here at 24 to the Brooklyn Nets. He's an athletic wing who's also able to hit the three-point ball very, very well. 24 to the Nets. Again, they're in a rebuilding process right now. I talked about it in a previous video, actually in my it was my division overview of the Atlantic Division, where I talked about this Nets team. They could look to continue to develop guys like Derek Whitehead and Noah Clowney to become their long-term role players for their championship team. something similar to what I think Alex Tuhey can provide as well. Cam Johnson, I doubt he's there at the end of the season, so maybe Alex Tuhey can be a guy to replace him, and I like that at 24. Kwame Evans Jr. here at 25, he is, I mean, obviously his second year out of Oregon, he's going to be a sophomore. It was interesting. I thought he was going to declare at the end of last year's season, maybe be an early second round guy. He's extremely athletic. He's able to guard multiple positions, but the offensive game I still think is a lot to be desired. Oregon's going to have a big year, or him out Oregon's going to be big this year because it's going to be a team where he's going to be able to take that next step. Him and Jackson Shellstat to be very good for them next year. I don't know if he's going to play into a first round prospect, but I think he's definitely a guy I could see be a late first round guy or maybe even an early second round. Jalon Lowe here at 26 for the Thunder. Again, another first round pick for the OKC Thunder. He's a guy when you watched Bub Carrington's tape last year at Pittsburgh, it was very clear that Jalon Lowe next year was going to be a guy that was going to be able to work his name into the first round. And I think he very much deserves to be a first round guy. He shot over 40% from three last year at Pittsburgh. And if he's able to truly be that team's lead guard, averaged 3.7 assists last year, maybe we can get that into the high fours to the fives. I'd like it a lot for him. I think he could be one of those guys to sneak into the late lottery talks. I don't know, but we kind of saw Bob Carrington do that just last year. Noah Essengay here at 27 to the Jazz. Again, they're just looking for more depth at that big man slash forward position. He's athletic. He's going to be a great playmaker from the power forward position. I like this pick for the Jazz a lot. He's a guy that may not have the highest floor, but we really can know what he's going to build into as his career progresses. Also, one of the youngest players in this year's draft class as well. The Nets taking kind of a project play here at pick 28 and Michael Ruzic here out of Croatia, who played last year at or in the Spanish league. Yeah, you're feel free here at pick 28 to take shots in the dark at guys that are very raw, who are prospect plays, but have high potential. And I think if Michael Ruzic can really play into that, he's skinny, he's 6'10", doesn't really 100% looks like what he knows he's doing on the court yet. At 28, it could end up making sense, but maybe there's some guys I would rather take over him. One of those guys are actually Ian Jackson, where they have them here take at pick 29. Yeah, like I said before, is he going to be a better prospect than Drake Powell this year? I think that's going to be one of the biggest questions out of North Carolina. I think they're going to be a very solid team. Will be a top three seed most likely come March. But when it comes to the draft prospects, when it comes to the draft time, when we get to the draft cycle, who's going to be that number one guy on North Carolina? It's going to be Ian Jackson. It's going to be Drake Powell. Me personally, it's Drake Powell right now. Ian Jackson, 6'4", not great lead guard abilities, and with Drake Powell being about 6'7", having more height, being slightly more skilled downhill, that kind of propels him over Ian Jackson for me right now. But I think Ian Jackson being a nice combo guard for the future for the Nets is something I like. And then the last pick of the first round, we have Cam Jones going 30 to the Boston Celtics. Cam Jones is a scorer first guard. He's going to shoot every single time he has the ball in his hands, which could be good for some teams, could be bad. Without also Iguodala, without Tyler Kolek next year for Marquette, he's going to be that team's number one guy. Yeah, I doubt anyone's going to touch the ball. But Cam Jones next year for Marquette. I mean, he has a real opportunity to average 24 plus points per game. But it's not often we see guys like him end up being first rounders. I kind of doubt it. I would like to see them add potentially big man. Last year they added shooting and Baylor Sharman. Has not looked too good so far in the preseason slash the summer league. So maybe big man I like a little bit more here. But honestly, Cam Jones, if you want some scoring off your bench, go ahead and get him. In the second round, some notable guys we have are KJ Lewis out of Arizona and Kenze Mbako out of Indiana, hopefully looking for a bounce back sophomore season. Boogie Fland out of Arkansas, JT Toppin from Texas Tech, and then Xavier Lee out of Princeton, 38. Cool to see him get his recognition. Tyrese Proctor to the Lakers, and then we have Mark Sears to the Nets. We have Nick Clifford, excuse me, to the Pacers at 48. Ryan Kalkbrenner, another big man for the Kings at 49. And other than that, looks like that's about it. Tucker DeVries, the son of what's the coach's name? I don't know. They were at what was the school last year? Was it Drake last year? Him and his dad, and then they both went over to West Virginia. We'll see how he plays next year. It'll be pretty interesting. St. Thomas is also a guy I'm pretty high on next year. We'll see how he plays for USC. And then the Knicks. Knicks forfeited their 2025 second round pick due to free agency shenanigans. Who was it? Was it Mikal Bridges? Did they do something a little bit too early with him? because I didn't really feel like they signed anybody too big during free agency. It was a campaign. I don't know. It was somebody. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go to the description to submit your video ideas. And yeah, see you guys next time. Peace.